Welcome to Second Listen Saturday on the Parenting Roundabout podcast, where we share some fun moments from a past episode for your weekend listening pleasure. Look for new episodes every Monday through Friday.
We are going to be talking about parents' life changes and how they affect our kids. Last week, we talked about our child's milestones and changes. So we're flipping the switch this week.
That's right. So Nicole's husband's job required their family to move to a whole new country. When Terry's husband got laid off and then got a new job, everyone in the family felt the effects of that. And I recently stopped writing for Very Well, which had been my main freelance gig for a really long time.
Yeah.
So, my kids can pick up on that, on me being a little bit like, what's next? Some milestones for parents, like going back to work or changing jobs, are driven by the kid milestones, like when they start kindergarten or graduate from college or middle school or whatever. So we wanted to talk today about what happens when it's kind of the other way around, when changes in a parent's life affect kids, and how do we handle that? So, Nicole, it's been a while since you moved, but maybe you could talk a little bit about how that happened.
It's still fresh in my mind.
How old were your kids when you made that move?
My son was in 6th grade, so he was turning 13, and my daughter was in 1st grade, and she was turning 6, and it was halfway through their school year because we moved in December, mid-December, just before school holidays. And it was a huge transition for us. We had moved previously, my husband and I, many, many times. And however, this was our first big move as a family. And we moved because my husband got a job down here. But it was hard. And I think the hardest part about it was keeping our stress away from the kids as much as possible, because we had to find a new home and deal with moving vans and then all the, immigration stuff. And my husband was also living down here for part of that time. And we were on our own up there trying to tie things up and sell the house. Plus I was working. So there was an incredible amount of stress that was hovering. And so the most challenging part, was keeping as much stress away from them as possible. I mean, I think it's healthy for them to see some of those, emotions and reactions, and how it's healthy for them to see the positive ways in which you deal with stress.
Are there some?
That means there have to be some.
Yeah, I know. And I can't really remember what it was, but I tried to be a good role model. I tried not to break down in front of them and throw my daily tantrum after they went to bed. But that was a huge task. And the other part of that was staying positive, because we were leaving a lot and we were giving up a lot. But, it was giving them that message that this is a big change, but change can be good, and it's a new opportunity, and the door is opening, and we need to take that. So
were they excited about moving to the United States, or not happy about it?
Yeah, they were excited about the transition and the move in theory. When it did happen in real life, it was obviously very sad and upsetting because they were leaving their friends and their grandparents. And of course, it took a while for them to get, to create new friendships and people, networks here. So there was a time when it was challenging emotionally and socially. Yeah. So, but here we are, 9.5 years later. And we've made a new life for ourselves here and enjoy it. So, there was definitely some challenging times, but there's also been a lot of good. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Terry, talk about your situation a little bit, because that's more recent.
We've got the challenging times. We're sort of waiting for the good to come on.
Yeah.
But, for a long time, we had a very, very convenient situation in that my husband worked for the same company for like 44 years. He worked for a supermarket chain. And during most of the kids' time that they can remember, and certainly for as long as we'd been in this house, he worked like right around the corner. He was like less than 5 minutes from home. So he would come home for lunch. He had a schedule where he went in early in the morning and he got off like around, I can't even 100% remember now, but he got off like at 3 o'clock. So he could pick kids up from school. He was home when kids got home from whatever they were doing. He had a day off during the week. He could do stuff. And we had just grown very, very accustomed to that and kind of built our whole family routine around it. And then when his supermarket chain went out of business, we had a very stressful few months where we thought he would just be, the way it was supposed to work is he would be transferred to a different store that was not closing or that was getting sold to somebody else. And then they just kind of didn't do that. They just laid him off, and all the other people who had been there for a very long time got laid off instead of transferred. And then, so we had then the whole stress of, number one, our primary income is gone. Number two, we have to find another job. And you know what? When you're a guy in your 60s and you've been working the same place for 44 years, not a lot of employers looking for you. Mm-hmm. So that was not easy. And so there was a lot of stress over finding a job. There was a lot of me hyperventilating over money. There was a lot of stuff going on. And then he finally did find a job, but it's half an hour, 40 minutes away. His schedule is such that he goes in later and comes home real late. As we've mentioned here before, he's the one who cooks dinner. So now we have dinner very late. And it just threw off the entire rhythm. And for weeks or even months, our kids were stopping and saying, wait a minute, this isn't going to happen the way we're used to. Pop's not going to be home now. He's not going to be home at this time. He's not going to be able to come and do this. Mm-hmm. And we kept bumping up on it again and again, how difficult it was to just sort of readjust the way we'd done everything. And certainly difficult for him too. And he's not somebody who's sharing that struggle, but I know he's been going through it. And then I felt the pressure to like do more freelance work. So now we've got a situation, as I've mentioned before, where I'm working pretty much all of the time, which creates stress in the family and creates stress for me. And we're having the money worries every month that we didn't used to have. So it's been a really, really stressful time. And I know it affects my kids negatively. Mm-hmm. Changes in routine are very hard. Stress in the household is very, very, very bad. Mm-hmm. But when you're going through it yourself, there's not always a lot you can do about it. Yeah. I can't not feel stressed about that. We can't find another job that has that same schedule, so we don't have to mess up your schedule. Mm-hmm. We have to just take anything that comes along. So it's been a rough few years, couple of years at least. Mm-hmm. And, I don't necessarily see the point at which it will stop being rough. We now have a situation where he's off in the summer, which is nice because he's around. Not nice because he didn't get paid. And he works at a college, so he's laid off for the summer. Right. And nice that he's around, but at the same time, as I think we've discussed here before, that messes up my work routine. It's like suddenly there's people all over the place. Mm-hmm. So it's just been, after many, many, many years of same, it's been a couple of years of constant change, and I hate it, and I want it to stop. At 9 years, you're feeling better about things, Nicole?
Sorry.
How long do I have to wait until this to normalize? And it's never going to normalize.
Transition.
He doesn't have the same kind of job now he did, so there's no security, and I'm freelancing, and as we well know, as Catherine is feeling this week, there's no security. Mm-hmm. And because right after he lost his thing, that's when I stopped working for About, which became very well after the fact. So that was another transition to have to stop doing that and start finding other things to do. So I hate it. I wish it would stop. I like everything being the same too. Mm-hmm. So I have no answers to this. It's it's hard enough when your kids are having problems and you have to help them adjust to it. Yeah. And their problems affect you as well, but it's not something that you are personally, uprooted feeling by. That's not been the case here. All of us have been discombobulated.
Yeah.
We need one of those
right,
recombobulation
recombobulation area from the Milwaukee airport. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to reassure your kids in these moments when you're not feeling very reassured yourself, right? I mean, that's the challenge.
Yes, and you want to just tell them, could you put your challenges off for a while? We need to focus on this now. Can we just put the hold switch on your disabilities and your problems? We're dealing with mom and dad now.
I mean, I feel like there's a mini version of this that happens with every new school year. Especially for us in recent years, because it's like every year one or both kid has been in a new school just because of the way, there's one school for K to 5, then there's one for 6, then there's one for 7 and 8, then there's one for 9 through 12. And so between the two of them, my kids have, been somewhere different all the time. And so just kind of that, like, okay, what time do we get up? What time do we leave the house? Like, who takes who where?
That's
and, we still, it's March and we don't have a standard, like, pickup routine after school because things change so much. This one has one staying after school for something, one's getting a ride, one's not getting a ride, just constant change. So it's hard to feel settled into anything.
And how does your shifting freelance responsibilities and schedule affect them? Do you ever have to do any travel?
I have, for when I was writing for Very Well, I have done a few trips for that. I think for me, it's more like my own thinking, like, okay, what's next that could affect them? Should I go get a job, in a physical location? Should I, I'll see something on LinkedIn or whatever, and I'm like, well, I could do that job, and it's reasonably local, but then, wow, the thought of going to an office full time, that does not
I know.
with all this, with everything that my kids are doing, and so
it's hard. Once you've been working from home, it's hard to think about working outside of the house.
Yeah. Sometimes I think
a flexible schedule.
Would it be better for me to be out of the house so I wasn't obsessing over everybody all the time? Maybe people would enjoy that. Maybe it would be good for mom to get out of the house, but then I just logistically don't know how I could do it.
Yeah.
People need to be transported to places. And the only way we could do it is if I could get a job that was good enough that my husband could stop working. But that's not likely. And I have had experience both with applying to jobs and not getting them because apparently what they were looking for is somebody right out of college who will take less money. And then also I spent a few days at a freelance client's office seeing what offices are like now. And I don't want to work in one. It was all open and, many, 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 many young people flocking about. And I'm thinking, I am a dinosaur. I want a cubicle at the very least. I want walls to hang things on. I feel
want
like
my
the
space.
Oldest old lady there is. So now when I look at those things on LinkedIn, I think, you know what? This would be a bad idea. It might sound good. It might be appealing in so many ways, but nah.
Well, I mean, do you see any benefits for your kids in these situations, like Nicole, in terms of learning about flexibility and resilience? You talked a little bit about that before, about how you were trying to, put on that good face for them.
At the same time.
Right. You don't want them to just stuff their feelings and not
sometimes we do.
Well, sometimes you want them to do it at a more convenient time.
Yes. Can we schedule in that those feelings of insecurity and anxiety? Could we next Tuesday at 10 is good.
Yeah. So, but I mean, do you feel like they learned they benefited ultimately from making the move?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some downsides to moving, but they have learned resiliency and they've learned flexibility, like you mentioned. They've definitely, their view of the world has opened up and expanded, and their understanding of how, all the vast differences there are, and their tolerance level has changed. So I think they've also gained a lot of things that are characteristics that will help them down the road as adults. So, I mean, I'm sure they would have eventually learned them, but this has kind of forced the issue. So, so I appreciate the experience for what it's given my kids, for sure. Learning to be problem solvers has been the big one. So, learning how to manage things.
And then they can teach us.
Yeah. So
roll with the punches, young people, and then tell us how to do it.
Yeah, I think in our case, I mean, they don't know all the ins and outs of how many freelance jobs I have and how it all works and how I get paid or not. And, but just being able to talk to them a little bit about like, well, this one, it became a situation where it wasn't right for me anymore. So, now I need to find some other things, and that'll be interesting. And
yeah.
But I think it's good. I think, I don't know how it was with your parents, but when I was growing up, my parents hid a lot of stuff from me. So I didn't get to see or understand the background. There was just these decisions that were made, and that was it. Because I did a lot of moving around when I was younger too. And, one day it would just be, okay, we're moving. I'd be like, what? Why? So we tried to give our kids the appropriate amount of information as we were going through these changes so that they could understand and feel like they were part of that decision as well in some way.
Which is not easy, like how much is appropriate and how much do they understand is private to be kept within the family, and how much can they handle, and it's rough.
Yeah.
I mean, in your case, Terry, it was like, they have to know that his job situation changed because suddenly he's home.
he's leaving at different times. He's coming home at much different times.
Right.
He's not coming home during the middle of the day. He doesn't have that day off in the middle of the week. Yeah, everything changed. So it's taken us a while. I'm not sure we're still 100% used to it, and it's been quite a while. So it's hard. And I don't know how much you give. Ideally, you would give kids enough information to feel that they know what's happening in their lives and to have some stability and to feel resilient, but not so much to make them anxious.
Right.
They should not have to be worrying about money. They should not have to be worrying about whether a parent has a job. Those should not be concerns. They should worry about their homework and their schoolwork and what's ever going on in their lives. But unless you have a mansion and can just go have all your discussions, in the other wing,
right?
There's really no way. Our house, we're pretty much all on one floor. You can hear everything from every bedroom. There's really no secrets that can be kept. And especially when tempers and emotions are high and you're not exactly whispering, everybody hears everything. And then afterwards you think, oh, that really should not have been for public hearing. I wish I could go make you unhear that. So I know that's part of it, because I get anxious and spout off, and, we try to discuss what we're going to do and how we're going to do things, and everything gets heard by everybody. So that is not good. I would not recommend that. Parents, go to a coffee shop, go sit in the car in the garage. But then your kids know you've gone off somewhere to have a discussion that is so awful that you can't have it where they can hear. So you're pretty much out of luck no matter what. Just have a steady life and have nothing bad happen.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't move anywhere.
This is our advice to you today, listeners.
You should have no problem following up with that.
Ay, ay, ay.